So we're here at the Brentwood Centre, and thanks to Phoenix FM's very own Chris Hood is joining me live in the studio here at the Brentwood Centre in Phoenix FM, doing the podcast, another conversation actually in the studio for a change, which is good.
I know I'm the wrong side of the mic for once. The other side, not the wrong side, but the other side of the mic for once.
Yes, you're on the other side of the table, so receiving the questions rather than giving them.
It's a scary prospect.
It is a scary prospect, yeah. No, not too much to be scared about, because they're kind of simple questions, I guess I wanted to ask you, really, because, you're involved with the Fitness in Mind here at the Brentwood Centre.
I'm involved with, we're coming up for in April. I've been with them for 2 years since the project launched properly. And so we're Fitness in Mind Brentwood, and our mission statement, I'm going to give you the mission statement and then
I saw it on the website.
I'm going to cut through it after that. So Fitness in Mind Brentwood provides a unique environment where physical activity and peer support work together for better mental, social and physical well-being. So cutting through that basically means since April 2016, when we started fully on the project, we provide free 12-week exercise classes as an aid to improve mental well-being. We have that with not just our coaches, but we also have peer support in our classes as well.
So you say it's for free. Is it people that have been sort of suggested to it or transferred, or what's the process if you wanted to join?
It's absolutely anyone can come in, and very early on we said you didn't need a diagnosis, you didn't need a referral from any doctor or anything. It's all self-referral, so all you have to do is normally people sign up at fitnessinmind.org.uk/Brentwood.
Yeah.
And that starts an Eventbrite process, and we get people to fill in a main form. But it's not. It's slightly medically based, but it's not overly invasive, I don't think. So
okay.
But it's people self-referring. So people come into us through a lot of avenues. People see us online or see us at the centre, see some of our material, and maybe they've not got a particular issue with their mental health.
Yeah.
They just haven't exercised for a while. We say, come in, do some stuff with us. We've got people who are coming in through more clinical routes of talking to their GP, and people who are talking to particularly the resource centre, Therapy for You, and through the other NHS routes as well. All kinds of ways people come in to see us.
Yeah, because there's various ways that people don't feel good. One is obviously inactivity, but then when you say if they've not been training for a little while, then you're going to have those little creeping little ways we can kick ourselves, and so not feel good. It's like, oh, I'm not doing this again, or I'm not doing that. So to have the facility where they're able to sign up and do it is great. So how is it funded?
It's all funded through Sport England. So it's through something called the Community Sport Activation Fund.
Yeah.
So there was initially a pilot running of the program, and then from January 2016 it got funding for 3 years through Sport England. I believe that funding comes through lottery funding.
Okay.
Ultimately, that's how it's all funded. So
it's a bit like the actual athletes. I think the
athletes.
GB,
the athletes get funded through the same portal. So it's all about getting people with low mental well-being, people with inactivity as well, to get them doing something. And our funding, I mean, you'll get this with a lot of organisations. You speak to any local community organisation, they're always talking about funding.
Yes, yeah.
Funding officially ends at the end of this year.
Yeah.
We're hopeful that it will continue after that, but it's the nature of funding. You don't find
Is that something that, when it was first started, it was nationwide, where all these little spots around the country?
Well, I mean, So we're Fitness in Mind Brentwood. There is a Fitness in Mind UK. So the initial body was set up by Essex Mental Health Community, the local organisation. What it does is it represents people with mental health problems, and it helps represent them to NHS and all that sort of stuff. And also the Brentwood Leisure Trust, which a lot of people know as the Brentwood Centre. So that was set up originally as the overhead organisation, and we were set up as the first hub. So we were the very, very first thing. What they're doing at the top is they're trying to get it expanded out to more areas, but it was decided that it would best to get this funding and do it this way first, and do this hub. And we'll probably be unique in the way that we're doing it. I don't think that they will do it again a similar way. If they expand out, it would be sort of more on a franchise basis rather than the amount that we've put into setting this hub up.
It sounds a really good way of doing it. So as you say, it's centralized, it's a strong kind of way that can be replicated. So it's like you've built it in a way that can...
Well, yeah, what we're hoping to do over the 3 years, we've been trying to create I suppose, I mean, because the way we came in at the beginning, and it's always a start-up, you spend a lot of time, especially during the first couple of years, finding your feet. So hopefully we've found now a blueprint that can be copied across to other organisations, and a kind of, we've got something that can hopefully be replicated in other areas of the country.
Yeah, because you can also improve results, can't you? The number of people coming. Do you have kind of any feedback of people that have improved?
Oh, I mean, certainly we've got loads of case studies. But what we've been doing as well is obviously Sport England ask for a certain amount of figures from us in terms of what we're doing. We're set targets in terms of people attending the programme, and also people signing up for the programme. But what we also did as an extra is we started collecting wellbeing data.
Yeah.
So people, whenever they do, every week that they do a class, they fill in a wellbeing card. Now, that was originally based on mental and physical wellbeing. It's now changed to mental and social wellbeing. It's based on clinical questions that are often asked, and people rank their wellbeing in those two. Now, what we're hoping to do, we've collected together all that data. Well, it's been nice to show. It's nice to be able to show to Sport England, hopefully at the end, this is what it's done with people. We have got brilliant examples of where people's numbers have been, frankly, terrible, and they will admit their numbers are terrible, and they've gone up by the end of the 12 weeks, or if we've required another intervention after that, they've gone sky high. But what we're hoping to do is collect all this data together. We're sending it off. It's getting reviewed by a university. So ultimately what we're hoping to do is be able to prove the link between physical activity and mental well-being. Now there should be plenty behind it in terms of, I mean, I'm not a biologist. I'll never profess to be that medically involved, but there's always people tell you about serotonin and this one that's the achievement hormone.
I'm going to say achievement because just by completing 12 weeks and consistently doing it, that's going to make an impact, isn't it?
Or even just getting to a class. Some people, it's been a struggle to even come along in the first instance and
do the whole process, getting in, getting changed, and getting actually on the machines or lifting weights.
Exactly. So you've got that, but we're certain that there's never been a study that actually proves the link between physical activity and people's mental well-being. Now, Mind had a similar sort of program, probably wasn't as... It wasn't quite the same as ours. We obviously like to feel that ours is a little bit further on. We like to think that we're the best, hopefully. But they did a study, and when it came back, the results, they weren't able to prove the link. They were able to prove that doing physical activity didn't make you feel any worse, which, is great, because I wouldn't want to be thinking that I'm making people worse for a living. But they weren't able to prove the increase. Looking at our data, I think we can, but I mean, my background is in... My degree is in economics and maths, so I know all about the statistics and proving statistical significance. Whether we're able to prove that or not is another thing, but our data, I think, looks pretty good. Yeah,
so coming from that background, what brought you down this path? What was the
everyone who has been involved, we've got two types of people who are involved in the programme. So we've got our coaches are fitness experts by profession. So they've got all the qualifications in terms of running a class, how to get people to do a squat. I don't know all that. I can tell people to drop and give me 50 press-ups, but they won't listen to me. Every other one of our staff is experts by experience. So my role as project activator, our peer support workers, all experts by experience, whether that be a self suffering from low mental well-being in the past, or a mental health issue, or having experienced one around them. So I've come from that sort of background, and that's how I got involved in the programme initially, through meeting one of the directors, Wayne Banks, who set up the programme in the first place. I've known Wayne for a fair few number of years, and I'd come out of a job that I was working in, and he said, well, do you want to do this? Are you interested in doing this?
Okay.
So I looked at it straight away. It looked like the perfect fit, and it's so nice to be able to come in and start something from, it wasn't quite the ground up, we had the bare bones there, but to start a project from the beginning and the sort of Brave New World sort of thing has been nice.
Yeah.
Frustrating at times, because you are, you know, at times you are feeling around in the dark. It feels like, because you're trying to do something completely new, but then it's not, you're not having people say this is the way that it should always be done. You're
then you can create it. Things that work really well.
Yeah.
And speaking of the team, you're joined here by Evie, so thanks for coming along as well.
Hi there.
Yes, so Evie is hopefully one of our people who tell us, Evie is one of our clients, and hopefully Evie can tell us, one, how brilliant the programme is, two, how brilliant I am. But maybe we'll come to that later on. But hope it's people like Evie that we aim to set out to help in the first place. And we've seen a massive change in Evie since she first came into the programme. And hopefully, well, I'm going to leave it to, I'm going to stop yabbering, and I'm going to leave Evie to tell you, hopefully, what being part of the programme has done.
Oh, that's a great idea. So, well, how did you come to find Fitness in Mind?
Well, at 38, I had a breakdown, basically, which you never think that you're going to be somebody that happens to. I was working in a very stressful job within the NHS, a private company within the NHS. So I understand all the struggles of the funding and
there's a lot happening
everything.
With that at the moment,
and unfortunately, I ended up having a breakdown, which is shocking. You don't expect your brain to do that, and so the mental health thing became very, very real for me. And so I had referrals, I was under psychiatrists, and then I eventually heard about Fitness in Mind. I would have loved to have heard about it sooner, and I think every professional now that I talk to, I say, are you aware of this? Because you should refer people. So I started in January with Fitness in Mind, and I was really sort of lost because the funding in Essex for mental health is one of the lowest in the country, and you have to wait months and months to see a psychiatrist or get a care worker, or and there's massive gaps in between. Once you go from crisis to not being in crisis, the difference is huge, and you're kind of left floating in the ether.
Yeah, like I learned, you have weeks before from finding someone, diagnosing, then referral and all that.
Exactly. So I absolutely think Fitness in Mind was a real saviour to me, because I was a bit lost, and I was so nervous that first time I came down. My anxiety was through the roof, but I was like, I need to go. I need to do something to help myself. And what I discovered in Fitness in Mind was the most kindest, loveliest, friendliest, helpful staff who are so human and empathetic and kind. The instructors, I would have never, ever gone to mixed martial arts. I would never, ever have gone to an aerobics class in my life. But because you're in this safe bubble where everyone's in the same boat, you feel comfortable to go along and empowered by the peer support, by people like Chris. And it's now become something that I like exercise. I'd even go as far to say I love exercise, which is something that I did not think would happen. And it's massively improved my mental health. You all meet up half an hour before in the Brentwood Centre.
So it's like a little social vibe that's created as well.
Massively. Yeah. I've sort of created really strong bonds with certain people in the classes, and it's given me something to look forward to. It's made me better mentally, and I would 100% say that is everything to do with Fitness in Mind.
That's great news.
And it's just a really, really positive such a positive thing to be involved in.
Any particular facets of it that you make a big difference? Is it the the community vibe of it, of course, seeing people, but were there particular steps that you got over, like, as you say, like first going to the classes and little achievements? Was that part of it?
Yeah, hugely. I mean, the initial meeting everyone on a social aspect, for me at the beginning, was so difficult. I had really bad social anxiety. So just doing that at first was a massive hurdle.
I mean, just thinking back, there was a big lead time before when you signed up initially to actually when you were able to come in the first place, wasn't it? And
so a lot of time to brew on it.
Well, I contacted Chris, I think October last year, and he said, you can join. And I didn't have the confidence or anything to get there. And in January, and I spoke to Chris again, I said, can I start in January? I think I'll be a bit better then. And I made myself go in January. But the little hurdles, like, get the social aspect, but the classes as well. I mean, they're incredible. I've never done yoga. I would have never had the guts to go to a yoga class. And now I'm there every Tuesday. Can't wait to go. Stretch and tone, which is basically high energy aerobics with weights. I would have run out the door screaming, and now I can't wait to go.
Every day you see Chris running out the other way, road runner.
It's just been the most positive experience. And anyone who's struggling with mental health and also is scared of fitness, because I'm a big girl. I'm size 18. I wasn't friends with fitness before this, and my fitness has improved massively.
Yeah,
I can squat now as many times as Nikki, the aerobic instructor, says, and I can do it, and that feels amazing.
Yeah, and so I mean that's another side of it as well. Like just feeling better physically, it gives you confidence. You know that you can do, go for a walk. You can join in. You can join in things whereas perhaps before you weren't so confident of getting through. Yeah. But now you can just do it, knowing that you can survive. Your body will go through it.
Yeah, and I never thought I'd be so into mixed martial arts, but there I am doing roundhouse kicks and punching and absolutely loving it.
Yeah, so of course.
It's great.
No one can see the look of fear on my face. It's a terrible look of fear.
A few memories passed by there.
No, it's flashbacks I'm getting there. Yeah,
of previous classes of what happened. So what's next? Evie going to continue is it like the sort of sequence you're on at the moment?
Yeah, so I'm due to graduate at the end of March, but this is how great the team are. I said I'm actually really scared about the programme ending because it's been so positive for me, and they've allowed me to. They've said, well, you can continue through April.
Great.
They've also talked about me being an ambassador and a volunteer.
Yeah.
Which are
sounds like it. Why not? Yeah.
Yeah, which are all things that exactly what I need right now that I'm not getting perhaps from the NHS, and I'm not having to go at them. Their funding, I feel for them, but this intervention, this help that I'm getting from these guys and doing things like this, it's just brilliant for me at the moment to get out the house and do these things.
Because there's other things that can maybe come from it as well, like you mentioned, the social side, the community side. Maybe there's something that can be set up in terms of the people that go for these 12 weeks or so, maybe do a thing where you can organise a get-together.
Well, what we do, we have, so basically once someone's progressed, so you sign up for our free 12-week course, you do 12 weeks with us, and then the model runs that at the end, you qualify for either a concession card at the Brentwood Centre, which means you get classes for cheaper. So a class is typically £5 at the Brentwood Centre. You get those classes for £3.50. You get discounted swimming, discounted access to the gym as well.
Great.
We let people continue. Our gym sessions on Saturday are very popular, 5 till 6. We kick everyone out of the gym. Literally everyone out of the gym, apart from anyone signed up to our programme.
Yeah.
So we have, it's a nice mix on Saturday because we have people who are still doing their 12-week programme, but we also have people who have graduated from the 12-week programme and are still coming along and obviously seeing people and doing that. You get the concession card. You might also qualify for your reduced rate membership as well. I think we get about a £10 discount a month on membership. So you can, that pays if you're doing more than 2 activities a week at the Brentwood Centre. But we don't just drop people after the 12 weeks. There's a series of inclusive classes we have, which are classes that have got the Fitness in Mind badge on it. So it's often coaches who have been with us in the past. Yeah. And they're set at beginner level classes, so they're a nice little move on from there. We're doing a lot more work, especially in this last year of our funding, to try and provide intermediate level classes for people to move on to, because ideally we'd like to move people on as a group, especially as they've got these friendship groups.
Well,
worked
exactly,
out.
yeah. That's what it seems to be quite a big core of it, really, because you're connecting because you've got shared experiences and shared reasons for doing it. So automatically you got a way of connected and this sort of shared vibe.
We also have our community classes and our cluster club network. Now, our cluster club network is sports clubs around the district that we like to refer people to, and they've been given our badge of approval as well. They work on the same ideas of us of inclusiveness, exercise for all. I mean, that's a massive cornerstone of what we do at Fitness in Mind. Is we take on a lot of people who don't think that they can exercise.
Yeah.
People who have got long-term medical conditions, physical impairments. We adapt to suit, but I don't think there's anyone, or there's very, very few people, I can think of one or two examples where we haven't been able to work with someone because of a medical issue, or where they've had to go back to their doctor and get a letter or something, or we've had to refer them into another program such as the cardiac rehab program at the Brentwood Centre. But back to my point about the cluster clubs, these are our guys who share our same ideals on inclusiveness and exercise for all. So there's plenty of groups around. We've got Renate Mullins, who does our yoga. She's got classes that she runs in Hutton that we can refer people to. There's a great guy, Fish for Life is another program, Martin Rossler. So we can direct people to fishing programs, which is great actually for mindfulness as well. Is fishing. We've got all kinds of. We've got Kaizen Kai karate that we work with as well, and groups within the Brentwood Centre as well, including the award-winning Barbell Girls program, which helps women get into lifting and weight work. And there's all kinds of classes we've got around there. So it's very much of, and this is something we're working on massively in our last year, is exit routes and helping people continue their exercise on, because it's nothing better than when we see people who have done our 12-week program and then we end up seeing them around the centre doing classes. I mean, there's a couple of people I bumped into this morning who are off our programme, just have a quick catch up, and they're off doing some other class around the centre. So there's nothing better than that. Money, we understand, is an issue for some people, and we have also had conversations with the NHS. There's something called a personal health budget, which is, I think they're new in the sort of last couple of years or so. There's been increased talk about that. So what that is, if someone is receiving, what used to happen, obviously you used to apply for you used to go into services and you got those services for free, blah blah blah. What it does, it takes the ownership back onto the person, so they can apply for that pot of money and say, we think that this would be good, or I think this would be good for my mental well-being. So what we've been able to arrange in the past is people's health budget to say a certain amount of your budget can go towards a gym membership or something at the centre. So even if you've got problems, and a lot of people have got it, the times are tight, especially if someone's on personal independence payment, if they're on universal credit, if they're on what was the employment and support allowance. Money's tight. You don't have the money to necessarily go 2 or 3 times a week to the gym. So we're able on certain occasions to have that discussion with people as well to get them going forward with that. Yeah,
I mean, as always on my conversations on the Mental Health Matters podcast, I do kind of touch on or try and dig into some of the broader causes into mental health issues. And sometimes it's even the labeling. It's good that we're able to identify, there's things that come under mental health, and some of them can be just because of isolation, for example. And so just be you guys providing a community where people can get together, suddenly just lets go a lot of the issues. But, you mentioned money, stress. In my massage work, I'm seeing people who are just so squeezed, especially in London, and, so much that has to be paid out at the moment. Are there any other kind of particular issues that you're noticing in people that, you see them coming in with it and that you're helping with?
I mean, carers is a big one. Carers kind of, they put all of their effort into looking after someone else, and there's not a lot for them. So we can, where we're able. We've got a lot of people who are supporting, like a husband, the father,
That's
a mother,
a good idea,
all that
yeah.
kind of thing. And obviously, it's something we'd like to work with more with carers organisations. We've got some people are being referred to us from, I think, Home Instead, which is a care at home company, run something called the Blue Flower Cafe, which deals with people with dementia and Alzheimer's, and they've referred a couple of people on to us, and we do go out and see groups now and again. We've got groups like at Soys Hall Church in Brentwood. There's an organisation called Frontline, so that helps. That deals with a lot of adults with learning disabilities. So we talk to them, not just for those guys, but obviously for their parents as well. One that actually, an area that we've seen more people recently is grief.
Yeah.
Grief is actually been quite a big one, and we've got quite a few people who've come into the programme that have lost part of their long-term partner, their husband, their wife. So we actually I did go out to a great little group that, because Bennett's Funeral Directors in Brentwood run a number of brilliant groups for grief, and they run something called the Grief Journey and everything like that. But I went to a grief social group that I've got. And I'll admit I was a bit apprehensive about going to this group because I didn't know what it'd be like.
Yeah.
It's the best group I've ever gone to because they had tea, cake. I was called young man. I loved it. But a few of them come into the program, and that seems to be one that wasn't one that I necessarily thought that I would see, but it seems to be one that we're encountering a lot of, and I think that is because it encapsulates the isolation as well, especially if you've had kids and the kids have flown the nest, and you've been with that partner for a long time, and then suddenly it's the isolation. It's kind of the emptiness and what to do next. So we get a lot of people in to do that. And I was going to say it's nice. It's not nice, but it's nice that there's people that are able to share that, and they're on the same sort of journey alongside a different. Yeah,
like Evie, you were saying with the connection when you come to the classes and everything. At least you are with people who are going through the same thing, and just that on its own is a weight off your mind, because this removes this whole, it's not just you kind of situation.
And also I've really bonded with a gentleman who lost his wife before Christmas. He's in his 70s. You also then feel real empathy and want to care for them.
Yeah.
And that in itself then takes you out of your own mental health and is also incredibly helpful. And he lives nearby, and I'm sure I'll carry on this friendship afterwards. And I would never have thought I'd make friends with a man in his 70s, but we've just gelled.
He'll love that when he hears it.
And we've just gelled, and but then it also makes you feel helpful.
I think that's a big part of it as well, because often if we spend time on our own and we're going through difficulties, when you get caught up in the stories running through your own mind, it makes you a bit fixated. But by doing exercise, for one, you're bringing your attention into your body, and you're exercising your attentions away from what your mind's doing. But then by looking after somebody else and being aware of somebody else and their needs and empathic towards them, suddenly it's again that makes you feel better as well, because you're away from what your mind's spinning around with.
Yeah, you're not focused on you, and I think a lot of mental health is you sort of go into yourself and internalise, and that's not helpful. So to come out mixed with people that I would never have mixed with and actually go, oh my goodness, that's awful for him. And I hug him every time I see him, whether he wants it or not. And we really laugh in the classes. And it's just lovely to have that bond with someone that you would have never have met.
Because I think society's become a bit fractionalized, and I'm a big advocate for living in a kind of tribal way, and that's the natural way that we're designed to be living in a kind of community like that.
Yeah.
And so then suddenly when you're spending time in groups, I think that is just a huge part of the healing process.
Well, I mean, one of the big indicators for me of how it's normally my indicator of if I think that I'm doing a good enough job and we're doing a good enough job is if by some point that the clients start abusing me about something, I know that I've done a good job, because they've started to get the confidence back. And there's plenty of people who, at the start of the programme, were so anxious, so shy, wouldn't say boo to a goose.
Yeah.
By week 5, they're taking the mickey out of me. So what can I say? That's normally an indication that it's something that something's worked. That they feel that they can start abusing me. I mean, it's difficult when you've got 20 people. You're trying to do something. You've got 20 people taking the mickey out.
You have to be aware of your mental health.
A lot of therapy when I go home really.
It does create this safe bubble, fitness in mind. You feel safe, you feel looked after. You don't feel, you're all in the same situation. And that's really quite empowering to meet other people that have gone through what you've gone through or different things. But you can come together in this safe place that Fitness in Mind has created and laugh. And your confidence grows and build friendships and camaraderie. And it is, we do take the mickey out of Chris. But it's because we're in a safe place. And, we're all very fond of him and all the team because they're so fantastic. But it does become a little bubble.
But that is an indication, I think, of not just us. I think it's of the Brentwood Centre as a whole, isn't it? I mean, they've worked a lot on inclusivity, and they've got their inclusive pledge. And it's not just our guys who are welcoming. It's people like the receptionists as well. It's our coaches. It's people who work around the centre. I just think that the centre has got. Leisure centres and gyms can be actually quite an intimidating place. And I don't think that the Brentwood Centre has got that edge to it at all. So it's not just the programmes like we're doing. They've got a guy, Lee Patmore, who's a really inspiring guy, Lee. He's hand cycled the length of Britain, and he's doing the east coast of Britain soon.
Wow.
So he deals a lot with inclusivity. He does a lot of boccia. We've got autism friendly gym as well. We're doing autism friendly circuits as well. That's partly thanks to a great guy, Ben Ashley, as well, who lives with autism. And he does a lot of work. So it's not just the Brentwood Centre going and Brentwood Leisure Trust going, right, here's something for mental health, we'll box this over here. It's the whole thing.
Well, they wouldn't be doing it, they wouldn't be hosting it if they weren't on that same vibe.
No, and certainly it's what they've worked on and we've worked on at the Brentwood Centre. Is the aim is to make it the most inclusive leisure centre in the UK. So, or even the world, if we want to go for a bigger target than that. But there's always conversations about well-being and the way things, and I think it has changed the way that some classes have been taught at the Brentwood Centre and the way that things are approached at the Brentwood Centre. I think now there's very much more we can do this rather than
find solutions rather than
finding solutions
rather than blocks.
So I think that's been a matter. We're all trained. Everyone on our staff is trained in mental health first aid. Which is a great qualification. I'd encourage anyone to go for that qualification. But a lot of the people at the centre are trained in it as well. So we've obviously a lot of our receptionists, just a lot of the staff. So it's all the awareness, and it's all just making the place a more friendly place. So it's not. I want to tell people that if they come to the Brentwood Centre, not just for our programme, but for anything, it's not the demographic that you think it is going to be. At the Brentwood Centre is everyone from young to old, super fit to people who, there's MS groups, there's all kinds of groups. So there's obviously with the seated yoga. So it's absolutely everywhere. If you can't go in the Brentwood Centre and think that you're going to stand out, because I'm afraid as much as you want to, you're not. Well, if you make a scene, but as much as you want to, you're not going to stand out.
Again, like we talked about, the Fitness in Mind, and the people that go there, they have a shared experience and things in common. But also, just by going to the gym in the first place, you have things in common with people. You want to go there to feel better. So a
lot of the time it's about, especially on tone and stretch on a Wednesday, you're all battling against adversity. It's not that bad. It's all adapted, as I say. So everything you only push as hard or as little as you want to. Just so happens that you get in the group, and Nikki Bowen, who's brilliant, who runs our tone and stretch class, you just want to do it. For Nikki more than anything.
Well, that's wonderful. It's lovely to hear your description of it, and also how much you're singing the praises of all these wonderful people involved as well. The wonderful endorsements, and Evie, your endorsements as well. really explains it and makes a lot of sense. Of course, it's the ambassador job is something you've created. Why wouldn't you be?
Well, it's improved my life massively. So I will tell everyone about it. And you're right about the Brentwood Centre. I have in the past been members of various gyms and would just go to the gym, would never do classes because I thought I'd probably be stared at or looked down upon. The Brentwood Centre, I feel confident that I could walk into any class and be welcomed. Yeah. Which is for a gym really incredible feeling because you just don't get that. But everyone's got to start somewhere, and I think that's where the Brentwood Centre is great. You've got to start somewhere. You're here. You want to get better. You want to get fitter, and don't be scared to come and start in a class where perhaps you might struggle at first, but then grow and develop. And what a lovely feeling that you can do that at the Brentwood Centre. Oh,
fantastic. It's wonderful to hear. So you really painted a great picture of it. And so wonderful to meet you, Evie. And thanks, Chris, for explaining it.
Yeah, well, can I just promote our next program?
I was going to ask what the next phases are.
Well, our next program starts on the 2nd of April. And you can sign up now at fitnessinmind.org.uk/Brentwood. Takes you through to an Eventbrite page. You can also give us a call, 01277 246 057. The email address, fitnessinmind@brentwoodleisure.co.uk. Pop into the centre. We're always here 10 till 4, Monday to Friday. We work nice. We finish at 4 o'clock. That's all right. It's not all work and play, though. And as I say, our next programme, we're keeping a similar sort of vein to this one. So Monday evening, we're going to be running our popular racket sports session. People really love that, 6 till 7 that we're running that. So we're doing badminton, short tennis, table tennis, stuff like that. Yoga, 1 till 2 on Tuesday, always extremely popular. So we're never in a million years are we going to drop that with Renate Mullins. Renate's so brilliant. So we take her on. Nice to mention Hayley Pegg as well, who runs our Monday evening with racket sports. Wednesday, we're continuing with Tai Chi. Right. So we've got Jill Bauer who does Tai Chi Qigong with us. Great. So a lot of people like that, especially because there's not actually that many Tai Chi classes around. So a lot of people come into that. Yeah, my friend
Brian does it down in Hornchurch and Chigwell, but to have it around here is fantastic.
And Jill teaches classes at Southwell Parish Hall as well that we'd like to refer people on to. Thursday, we're carrying on with the Force of Nature, that's Nicky Bowen, and doing tone and stretch aerobics as well, because people absolutely love that, even though they're hating it maybe while they're doing it. No, they're loving it. They're loving it.
In pain, but
no, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. I've never had so much fun while lifting a weight before. And Friday, we continue with MMA with Alan Packman. Does a lot of great work, Alan. And then our Saturday gym from 5 to 6 as well. So if you want to find out more, fitnessinmind.org.uk/Brentwood. You can sign up now, free for 12 weeks. And our next programme actually starts on the 2nd of April. So
that's fantastic. So, good to hear the full programme as well. And so what's the next phase? So you need to make sure that you can apply for the next round of funding so that it can keep going, basically.
Yeah, luckily I don't want to say it's not my problem. It's someone else's department to deal with all the funding. But fingers crossed we get the funding. I'm pretty confident that something will come out of it.
Because you've done all this work with getting the figures and the results.
The figures, and I think the data's pretty impressive. I mean, we set some pretty hard targets, but you're never going to be set easy targets in exchange for government lottery funding. So I would like to think that it's going to continue in one form or another, even if the money wasn't to come from Sport England. There's plenty of other little pots of money about there. So I think, considering it's just our case in this last year of collecting together enough evidence, enough stories like Evie's and other people's like that, to say to someone, this is changing lives. And this is doing that. It would be a massive loss if this was to just disappear. I don't think it's going to happen. I think there's someone always there willing to support a project such as ours.
Yeah, I think was such a beautiful description, and hearing about it and see how it's the effect it's having, it's bound to continue. And thanks for coming and explaining it to us.
My pleasure, Graham. My pleasure.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Evie.
Thank you.
You're in the Mental Health Podcast live from the, not live exactly, but in the Phoenix FM studio. Thanks a lot.